Imagine standing in a sterile hotel lobby in Niagara Falls as darkness falls across the quiet landscape. Suddenly, two men walk in, perfectly identical and dressed in suits that seem a century out of place. Their eyes, a hypnotic and icy blue, never blink as they scan the room with unsettling precision. Is this the moment the world's most elusive secret finally stepped into the flickering light of CCTV? For decades, stories of these enigmatic figures have whispered through the shadows of the infamous Roswell incident. We often wonder if the tales of the men in black are mere folklore or terrifying reality. What if these entities are actually real, risking exposure just to be caught on a digital sensor? The history we think we know begins to blur as we investigate the mystery of these silent observers. In 2012, chilling CCTV footage surfaced on the internet, reigniting fears of these legendary and nameless suppressors. This specific footage from 2008 captures two men dressed in black who look and walk entirely identically. They move like a glitch in a video game where two identical characters appear simultaneously in time. Their presence evokes an uncanny valley feeling that leaves witnesses trembling with a sense of deep unease. Witnesses at the Niagara Falls Hotel described their icy blue eyes as possessing a strange, hypnotic quality. These men never blinked, maintaining a steady, haunting gaze that felt both predatory and completely inhuman. Are they human agents of the Condon Committee, or something far more ancient and sinister than we imagine? Perhaps they are linked to the legend of the Hatman, or the disturbing accounts of black-eyed children. The International Flying Saucers Bureau once investigated such claims, before Albert K. Bender was silenced by fear. Even brilliant minds like Dr. Herbert Hopkins have reported visits from men wearing a classic, dark derby. Every detail of their appearance seems designed to intimidate and suppress any knowledge of extraterrestrial life. This modern footage might finally prove that these elusive figures are watching us from the dim shadows. Why would they emerge now, after successfully hiding their tracks since the dawn of the UFO era? As we peel back the layers, the boundary between urban legend and documented fact begins to crumble. But to understand this modern footage, we must look back at when the public first realized being watched. The journey into the heart of the Men in Black mystery starts with a single, unblinking stare. The suspicion surrounding the Men in Black didn't start with grainy videos. It began with a simple survey. In 1968, a formal committee tried to dismiss the UFO phenomenon, but they accidentally uncovered a startling truth. This scientific body, known as the Condon Committee, set out to sample public attitudes towards unidentified flying objects. Decades after the Roswell incident, the mystery of the skies had moved from the desert into public consciousness. While researchers looked for physical evidence, they found something far more volatile: a nation that stopped trusting authority. The committee presented a pointed statement asserting that a government agency maintains top-secret UFO files from the public. They wanted to know if Americans truly believed their leaders were hiding the truth about these celestial visitors. What they discovered was a pressure cooker of suspicion, just waiting for a name for their collective fear. Shockingly, almost two-thirds of all people surveyed agreed that a government agency was hiding these crucial UFO reports. If a vast majority felt this way, what did they know that the formal committee seemingly did not? Perhaps they were remembering the hushed stories of Albert K. Bender and his International Flying Saucers Bureau. The public's belief wasn't just a casual thought. It was a deeply ingrained conviction of a massive cover-up. The numbers became even more dramatic among the youth, as nearly 75% of teenagers believed files were withheld. Why were teenagers, in particular, so convinced that the government was keeping the truth under lock and key? They grew up in an era haunted by the derby hat and stories of visitors like Dr. Herbert Hopkins. For these young minds, the world felt like a stage where the most important actors remained behind curtains. They envisioned the Hatmen or black-eyed children lurking just beyond the edge of official, sterilized government reports. This wasn't just paranoia. It was the birth of a suspicion that would define modern conspiracy culture forever. Even the modern Niagara Falls CCTV footage owes its cultural weight to this foundation of deep-seated public doubt. This culture of secrecy didn't appear out of thin air. It had a very concrete origin point in history. To find the true root of this paranoia, we must travel back to the Roswell incident. It all leads back to a single night in the late 1940s within the New Mexico desert. A sudden flash in the darkness changed our understanding of the world and the government forever. Was Roswell the actual catalyst for a secret agency that we were never meant to see? This single event was the match that lit the entire fire of modern conspiracy culture. Before this moment, the idea of a massive government cover-up was not a mainstream notion. After the debris was scattered, the public began questioning what the Condon Committee truly represented. The Roswell incident transformed a local curiosity into a nationwide obsession with hidden truths and lies. As the dust settled, the notion of government conspiracies and cover-ups finally became a mainstream reality. Think back to Albert K. Bender and his work with the International Flying Saucers Bureau. Bender's research into these aerial mysteries eventually led him to some very dark, unexpected places. He founded the International Flying Saucers Bureau to document these strange encounters across the globe. However, Bender soon claimed he was visited by 3 men who wore dark, imposing suits. These visitors often wore a distinct derby hat, casting long shadows over their pale, expressionless faces. Similar accounts describe figures like the Hatman, a tall shadow lurking in the corners of bedrooms. These mysterious agents didn't just stop at Bender. They appeared to experts like Dr. Herbert Hopkins. Dr. Herbert Hopkins described a visitor who seemed to lack any trace of human emotion or features. This visitor sat in his dimly lit living room, issuing warnings that felt cold and otherworldly. Modern sightings have even captured unsettling images on cameras like the famous Niagara Falls CCTV footage. This footage shows tall, pale figures walking through a hotel lobby with a synchronized, mechanical gait. Their presence echoes the modern urban legends of the terrifying, pale-skinned, black-eyed children seeking entry. Like the men in black, these black-eyed children appear at doorsteps, demanding to be led inside. All these disparate threads of high-strung paranoia seem to find their origin point in Roswell's sands. The Roswell incident birthed the suspicion that our leaders are hiding the ultimate extraterrestrial truth. This culture of secrecy grew from a desert crash into a global phenomenon of silent, watching men. But as the debris was cleared, new figures began to emerge from the deep shadows of history. Before Hollywood turned them into heroes, the men in black were the stuff of pure nightmares. They have a uniform, a style, and a way of being that is almost human. Why the black suits and why the vintage cars? Even decades after their prime, witnesses from the 1950s described these figures wearing identical, sharp black suits and dark hats. These suits were often described as unnaturally crisp, as if they had never seen a wrinkle. Sometimes they wore a derby hat, casting a deep shadow over eyes that never seemed to blink. Albert K. Bender, founder of the International Flying Saucers Bureau, was among the first to see them. He claimed 3 men in black suits visited him, chilling his very soul with their presence. They're like the grim reapers of the UFO world, appearing where they are never invited. These entities frequently arrived in large, polished black cars that looked like they belonged in a museum. The classic American cars were always spotless, smelling of new upholstery despite their vintage age. Throughout the 1950s, UFO witnesses reported being harassed and threatened by these mysterious, silent individuals. Many believed that these men worked for a secret government organization dedicated to suppressing sensitive UFO information. Their goal was simple: ensure that whatever was seen in the skies stayed out of the headlines. Years later, Dr. Herbert Hopkins would face a visitor who seemingly erased a penny in midair. There was something deeply off about them, a feeling that they were merely imitating human behavior. Rare footage like the Niagara Falls CCTV captures the chilling, synchronized movement of these modern eye phantoms. Some link their appearance to the Hatman or the disturbing accounts of the black-eyed children. Long before the 1997 film arrived, these figures represented a much more sinister, grounded reality. While the movie gave us gadgets and jokes, the true history is one of quiet, terrifying intimidation. Even the Condon Committee couldn't fully ignore the persistent reports of these suit-wearing attempts. They seemed to haunt the periphery of every major event, from Roswell to modern sightings. Their presence is a cold reminder that some secrets are guarded by more than just locks. One man would soon learn just how high the price of curiosity could truly be. What could scare a man enough to suddenly abandon 20,000 loyal followers overnight? In 1952, one man decided to organize the search for truth. His name was Albert Bender. Unlike the scientific approach of the Condon Committee, Bender's mission was deeply personal and investigative. While the Roswell incident sparked national fear, Bender sought to catalog every new sighting himself. Bender was no stranger to order, having served as a dedicated member of the U.S. Air Force. He was a multi-talented man, working as both a published author and a curious amateur driven by a passion for the unknown. He founded the International Flying Saucers Bureau that same year. The IFSB quickly became a beacon for those searching for answers across the globe. Every week, Bender worked tirelessly to produce a newsletter that captivated thousands of eager readers. His reach was massive, eventually spanning across the world to an audience of 20,000 people. The International Flying Saucers Bureau stood at the very center of the burgeoning UFO community. Albert Bender had become a prominent voice, influential enough to challenge the official narrative. But at the height of his success in early 1953, something shifted deep within his world. Without any prior explanation, Bender suddenly decided to shut down his entire investigation bureau. He ceased all publication immediately, leaving his 20,000 subscribers in a state of shock. The silence was deafening, as the man who wanted the truth suddenly refused to speak it. His final newsletter was like a flare sent up from a rapidly sinking ship. Within those final pages, Bender delivered a chilling warning to anyone still engaged in saucer work. He urged his fellow researchers to be extremely cautious in their pursuit of the unknown. Rumors swirled that he was visited by figures wearing the classic derby hat and dark suits. What secret had he uncovered that forced him to walk away from everything he built? The once bold investigator had been silenced by a force he never dared to name. His sudden departure remains one of the most unsettling chapters in the history of ufology. This abrupt ending served as a dark omen for those who dared to look too closely. The man who once sought the light had retreated back into the safety of the shadows. Bender didn't just quit the field. He was fundamentally changed by a mysterious encounter. The true nature of the warning he received remains a haunting question for researchers today. For 10 years, Bender stayed silent, but the truth he eventually revealed was stranger than anyone imagined. The physical toll on the man was obvious, yet the true cause remained hidden for a decade. After the International Flying Saucers Bureau closed, Bender suffered from agonizing, unbearable headaches that never seemed to fade. For weeks on end, he found it impossible to eat or sleep as his health rapidly declined. He lived in a state of constant shadow, haunted by the memory of a sudden, forced silence. What could cause such a profound collapse in a man who once led 20,000 followers? Finally, in 1962, Albert K. Bender broke his long silence to describe a terrifying supernatural encounter. He claimed that 3 mysterious men dressed in black suddenly appeared before him out of thin air. These figures did not walk through doors. They appeared like ghosts in a machine to the startled reason. How do 3 grown men simply materialize inside a locked room without making a single sound? They wore the classic black suits and hats, their presence radiating an intense, unnatural sense of dread. These spectral visitors delivered a chilling ultimatum that would change the course of Bender's entire life. They sternly warned him to immediately cease all research regarding the mystery of unidentified flying objects. Their voices were hollow, devoid of human emotion, echoing the cold void from which they had emerged. The message was clear. Some secrets were never meant to be uncovered by the eyes of man. This was no longer a matter of government suppression. It felt like something far more paranormal. The shift from men in suits to entities appearing from nothingness redefined the Men in Black legend. Bender's account transformed the shadowy agents from federal investigators into something much more sinister and otherworldly. He stayed true to their warning for years, fearing the consequences of defying such powerful, spectral beings. Even a decade later, the fear in his voice suggested the visit was still happening in his mind. While Bender's account sounds like science fiction, the case of Dr. Herbert Hopkins remains even more unsettling. The toll of Albert K. Bender's encounter went far beyond the simple loss of his organization. He wasn't just silenced. He was physically broken by the entities that invaded his private study. After shutting down the International Flying Saucers Bureau, a dark shadow seemed to loom over him. Witnesses noticed a terrifying change in the man who once led thousands of ego researchers. Bender began to suffer from headaches so intense they felt like a physical weight upon him. These were no ordinary pains. They were described as unbearable, localized deep within his skull. Along with the pain came a complete loss of appetite that left him increasingly frail. Food became an afterthought as he retreated further into the safety of his quiet home. Sleep, once a refuge, turned into a distant memory. During those long, agonizing weeks, he would lie awake for hours, staring into the darkness where the visitors once stood. This state of physical and mental exhaustion stretched on for several weeks without any relief. Even without his signature derby hat, Bender looked like a man haunted by a spectral presence. This encounter felt more like a meeting with the Hatman than a standard military interrogation. The Men in Black hadn't just taken his secrets, they had seemingly drained his life force. While the Condon committee looked for data, Bender was dealing with a very real, physical haunting. Reports of black-eyed children often mention a similar sense of dread and subsequent physical illness. Friends grew worried as the days bled into weeks of consistent, unexplained physical decline. Every time he tried to speak, the unbearable headaches would return with renewed, punishing intensity. He was trapped in a cycle of pain that served as a constant reminder of his silence. The physical toll of the encounter remains one of the most disturbing aspects of the Bender case. Unlike the mechanical Roswell incident, this was a deeply personal and physiological assault on a human. Not even the modern Niagara Falls CCTV could capture the internal damage these entities leave behind. The price of the truth was a sickness that nearly cost him everything he held dear. Yet, as we will see with Dr. Herbert Hopkins, Bender was not the only victim. If you think you are safe in your own home, listen to the story of Dr. Herbert Hopkins. September 11th, 1976, began as a quiet and ordinary night in Old Orchard Beach, Maine. A respected family physician, Dr. Hopkins sat alone in his house when the telephone rang. The man on the other end claimed to represent a group called the New Jersey UFO Organization. He asked to speak with the doctor about the strange details of a recent UFO case. Dr. Hopkins agreed to the meeting, but the timing of the arrival defied every law of logic. As soon as the physician hung up the receiver, he noticed a figure already waiting outside. A man stood on the front steps before the phone had even finished its final ring. How could he be on the steps before the phone was even hung up? The doctor lived in a remote area, yet the mysterious caller had arrived in mere seconds. Much like the visitors of Albert K. Bender, this figure seemed to materialize from thin air. The visitor did not travel to the house. He simply was already there, waiting in silence. Dr. Hopkins felt a cold wave of unease as he approached the front door to greet him. Investigations later proved that the New Jersey UFO organization mentioned on the call was entirely bogus. This phantom entity used a fake identity to gain access to the doctor's private residence. The silence following the phone call was heavy, pressing against the walls of the quiet home. This encounter would become a chilling chapter in the historical mystery of the Men in Black. The stranger's sudden presence felt like a violation of the natural world and its rules. But it was when the visitor stepped into the light that the real horror began. The physician opened his door, unaware that his reality was about to be shattered forever. Dr. Herbert Hopkins invited the man inside, a mistake that would haunt his memory forever. The man looked like a human, but every detail was subtly, disturbingly wrong. Standing in the light, the visitor appeared as a tall, remarkably skinny figure in the darkness. He wore an ill-fitting dark suit that seemed to hang loosely off his unnaturally thin frame. Atop his head sat a black derby hat, a classic silhouette we have seen throughout history. As the man removed his hat, Hopkins noticed something chilling about the stranger's physical appearance. His head was completely bald, possessing a smoothness that did not seem entirely natural or human. Most unsettling was the total absence of hair, including missing eyebrows and even eyelashes. His skin was impossibly pale and smooth, lacking the imperfections that define a living person. He was like a mannequin come to life, wearing a skin that simply did not fit. Why would a being need to mimic our appearance so poorly while standing right before us? The physician's gaze was soon drawn to the stranger's face, specifically his strikingly vibrant mouth. His lips were a bright, ruby red color that contrasted sharply against his deathly white skin. However, as the man began to speak, the true nature of that mouth became horrifyingly clear. Dr. Hopkins observed that the man's mouth was actually just a perfectly straight, thin slit. There were no actual lips, only the illusion of them painted onto his pale, hairless face. What kind of creature lacks even a single eyelash and must paint on a human mouth? When the visitor finally spoke, his voice was as eerie as his strange, artificial appearance. Every word was delivered in a flat, expressionless monotone that lacked any hint of emotion. He spoke with perfectly even spacing between his words, sounding more like a machine than man. The atmosphere grew heavy as the doctor realized he was hosting something truly otherworldly. During their conversation, the visitor reached up to wipe his mouth with a gloved hand. As he did, a bright red smear was left behind across his pale, waxen cheek. This simple movement proved the ruby red color was merely lipstick applied to hide the slit. This wasn't just a man in a suit. This was a disturbing, carefully constructed performance. The uncanny valley felt deeper than ever as the physician stared at his bizarre, painted guest. Every detail of the visitor's anatomy suggested a biological mimicry that was fundamentally flawed. Hopkins felt a cold dread, realizing the classic black suit was just a costume for something else. The silence in the room was punctuated only by that robotic, rhythmic, and hauntingly hollow voice. The stranger's visit proved that some things wearing human skin are anything but human. The visitor didn't just talk, but instead demonstrated a power that defied the laws of physics. Was the coin a message, or a threat that would silence Hopkins like Albert K. Bender? The stranger asked Dr. Herbert Hopkins to hold a copper coin, starting a terrifying display of control. As Hopkins watched, the penny began to change color, turning from copper to a shimmering silver. The solid metal started to blur at the edges, losing its physical form before his eyes. Within seconds, the coin vanished like a dream upon waking, leaving the doctor completely stunned. This impossible act was a message from those who silenced the International Flying Saucers Bureau. Then, the visitor leaned in close, issuing a warning that chilled the doctor to his core. He commanded Hopkins to destroy every piece of UFO case information he had ever collected. Failure to comply meant the doctor would eventually suffer the same fate as the vanished coin. The visitor's voice then grew weak, sounding like a machine that was slowly losing power. He looked directly at Hopkins and muttered that his energy was finally running dangerously low. This strange detail adds a chilling layer to the theory that these men are not human. This energy drain mirrors the exhaustion scene in the haunting Niagara Falls CCTV footage. The visitor struggled to his feet and began to move toward the door with great difficulty. He walked down the front steps with a stiff, crippled gait that seemed entirely unnatural. Just as he reached the sidewalk, a blindingly large flash of light erupted in the night. When the doctor's eyes adjusted to the darkness again, the mysterious visitor was completely gone. He was left with a choice to obey the visitor or suffer like the Roswell incident witnesses. With a flash of light, he was gone, but the fear remained in that quiet house. Remember the lobby in Niagara where, years after Dr. Hopkins, the cameras finally caught them? We return now to 2008, the haunting moment where the legend finally meets the digital lens. In 2012, chilling CCTV footage surfaced on the internet, capturing a sight that defied rational explanation. The grainy video was recorded 4 years earlier inside a quiet hotel lobby near Niagara Falls. It was a cold night in Ontario, just 2 weeks after a strange UFO sighting over the river. The witness worked at the hotel, never expecting that his encounter would draw such terrifying visitors. Two figures stepped through the sliding doors, looking like they walked straight out of the Roswell incident. Witnesses described the man as being unusually tall and thin, moving with a strange, unsettling rigidity. Unlike Bender's International Flying Saucers Bureau members, these men lacked the traditional derby hat. Their hairless appearance was a chilling callback to the reports that once baffled the Condon committee experts. Their faces were pale masks, devoid of any human expression or warmth as they approached the desk. Most disturbing was their synchronized movement, walking with the haunting precision of a single, shared mind. How do you explain to strangers with the exact same hypnotic, icy blue eyes staring back? Staff members noted that the men never blinked, their wide eyes fixed in a constant, predatory gaze. They did not come for a room, but instead asked for the specific employee who saw the UFO. Why would these entities search for a witness exactly 14 days after the event had already passed? Some skeptics point to a coincidence, noting the footage went viral alongside a major movie's promotion. The third Men in Black film was hitting theaters just as this video began haunting the internet. Does that timing invalidate the footage, or did the truth simply find a convenient mask to wear? Are these the same entities behind the Hatman, or the chilling accounts of black-eyed children? The silent observers from the 50s have stepped out of the shadows and into our modern world. If Feats is real, then everything we thought about folklore is wrong. What if the Men in Black aren't government agents, but something far more synthetic and strange? Evidence from the case of Dr. Herbert Hopkins suggests these visitors might actually be biological machines. Before his sudden departure, the pale visitor gave Dr. Herbert Hopkins a very specific, chilling warning. He claimed his energy was running low, a phrase more fitting for a machine than a man. This exhaustion seemed to manifest physically as the strange figure finally prepared to leave the house. As he moved toward the exit, his once steady composure began to deteriorate in a very visible way. Dr. Herbert Hopkins watched in confusion as his guest struggled to navigate the simple porch steps. The visitor walked down the steps as if crippled, his legs moving with a heavy, mechanical stiffness. This labored, Awkward movement suggests a body that was failing or perhaps reaching its operational limit. Once he reached the pavement, the encounter ended not with a walk, but a blinding phenomenon. The visitor vanished instantly after a large, bright flash illuminated the quiet, darkened street of Maine. Decades later, the Niagara Falls CCTV footage captured men in black wearing the classic derby hat. In that grainy 2008 video, two men appeared, moving with an eerie and perfectly synchronized precision. Observers noted that these two individuals looked and walked identically, mimicking each other's stiff, unnatural gait. Could this shared, crippled walking style be a recurring glitch in their supposed human disguises? Perhaps the energy depletion mentioned to Dr. Herbert Hopkins is a common weakness among these entities. This mechanical behavior links the 1970s encounter directly to the modern evidence found in Niagara Falls. While the Condon committee looked for logic, the physical evidence points towards something entirely non-human. Even Albert K. Bende might have recognized this synthetic pattern in the visitors who silenced him. From the Roswell incident to today, the physical toll on these beings seems remarkably consistent. Do these entities require a constant source of power to maintain their presence in our world? If their energy is finite, it explains why their terrifying visits are often so brief and controlled. The crippled walk and the bright flash suggests a technology that we still don't fully understand. Like the legendary Hatmen or black-eyed children, these figures seem to operate on a different frequency. We must wonder if the International Flying Saucers Bureau ever truly grasped what they were facing. Skeptics argue the men in black are merely a recent creation of modern American folklore. They claim this dark mystery began solely with Albert Bender in the mid-1950s. Many point to the Roswell incident as the spark that ignited this paranoid cultural fire. Critics suggest the International Flying Saucers Bureau accidentally birthed a lasting urban legend. But is this phenomenon truly a new arrival or an ancient visitor wearing a modern disguise? Looking beyond the borders of North America reveals a much more complex and global puzzle. From the coastal towns of Europe to the Australian outback, these silent observers have appeared. Terrifying encounters in foreign lands mirror the same chilling patterns we see in the States. These international reports prove the men in black are not confined to a single continent. The mystery deepens when we realize these figures were sighted long before the modern era. During the Middle Ages, people spoke of malevolent entities dressed in dark, heavy robes. These historical figures wore wide-brimmed hats that cast deep shadows over their inhuman features, like the modern derby hat. These ancient garments signaled a presence that did not belong. These medieval visitors possessed capabilities that defied common sense and terrified the local populace. Could the black-suited figures of today be the same entities that haunted the Dark Ages? Perhaps the phenomenon is like a virus, adapting its visual appearance to match each era. A traveler in the 1400s would see a monk, while we see a government agent. Even the Condon Committee could not fully explain why these patterns persist across centuries. Whether through Niagara Falls, CCTV, or ancient parchment, the chilling essence remains exactly the same. The modern suit might just be a contemporary mask for a much older, darker reality. We must ask ourselves if these visitors have been walking among us since time began. They adapt, they observe, and they ensure that certain secrets remain buried in the past. If they aren't men, and they aren't from here, then what are they truly? The theories regarding the men in black only get darker as we move into deeper paranormal mysteries. What if they aren't agents of the government, but agents of something far more alien? While early 1950s theories focused on the government, many modern advocates now suggest an extraterrestrial nature. These researchers believe the men in black are actually alien entities operating entirely beyond our human laws. To understand their true purpose, we must look at the common threads within the paranormal web. New and chilling connections are being drawn between these suited figures and the terrifying shadow people. Specifically, many witnesses believe these silent observers are linked to the mysterious figure known as the Hatman. Like the Hatman, these figures appear suddenly, watching from dark corners before vanishing into thin air. But the web of mystery extends even further, crossing paths with another modern urban nightmare. Startling reports describe the men in black traveling in vehicles alongside the notorious black-eyed children. These children, with their solid black eyes, seem to share a dark purpose with their strange companions. This proximity suggests a shared origin or perhaps a disturbing hierarchy within the world of the unknown. Beyond these cryptid connections lies a conspiracy theory that reaches the highest levels of global power. Fringe community theories propose that these beings are extraterrestrials who have successfully infiltrated various world governments. These theories suggest a secret and ongoing collusion between our leaders and visitors from the stars. In this disturbing view, they act as the common thread binding together a vast paranormal tapestry. While the Condon Committee focused on physical evidence, these theories explore a deeper, more manipulative influence. If Albert K. Bender were alive today, he might find these new connections even more terrifying. Even Dr. Herbert Hopkins might wonder if his visitor was a master of political shadow play. Are they extraterrestrials working with our leaders, or something from another dimension entirely? Regardless of the theory, one thing remains constant: the profound fear they always leave behind. But what if the men in black are not acting alone in their silent, predatory observations? A new, even more disturbing pattern has emerged from the shadows of modern paranormal folklore. Witnesses describe chilling encounters involving the infamous Men in Black and the legendary black-eyed children. These two terrifying entities, once thought separate, are now being seen operating in chilling unison. Reports suggest these pitch-black-eyed youths are frequently spotted traveling inside those same vintage vehicles. Imagine a gleaming black sedan idling at a curb with a pale, soulless child in the back. This shocking development links the suits of the Roswell incident era to a much newer nightmare. Could the silent observers from the Condon Committee era be guardians for these strange, youthful entities? The mystery deepens as we realize these visitors might belong to the same hidden, synthetic family. Seeing a black-eyed child is terrifying, but seeing them with a man in black is These sightings often occur in quiet neighborhoods where the classic black car looks entirely out of place. The men in black sit stoically in the front while the children watch from the rear windows. Both groups share the same uncanny skin and a presence that defies all logical human explanation. This alliance suggests a larger, unified ecosystem of anomalies working together. Why would these sophisticated agents of silence be chauffeuring children with ink black void-like eyes? Perhaps the black-eyed children are the true masters, and the men in black are merely their protectors. Witnesses often feel an overwhelming sense of dread when these two forces converge on a single street. The mechanical precision of the driver matches the predatory stillness of the small, dark-eyed passengers. Every report of this shared transport adds a heavy layer of complexity to the Albert Bender legacy. It forces us to ask if these entities are truly extraterrestrial or something from a parallel dimension. The sight of a derby hat next to a pale, childlike face is an image of pure terror. As the vintage car pulls away, it leaves behind a silence that feels heavy and entirely unnatural. There is one thing every witness agrees on: meeting them changes your life forever. We may never know who they are, but we certainly know what they do. An encounter with them is like a stain on the mind that never quite washes out. Is the true threat hidden in their cryptic words or in their chilling, synthetic presence? Ever since the 1950s, witnesses have reported being harassed and threatened by these silent, dark figures. These men in black appear suddenly, leaving a trail of fear and broken lives in their wake. Think back to Albert Bender, who suffered unbearable headaches after his encounter with the three men. His International Flying Saucer Bureau was silenced by a terror that modern science simply cannot explain. While some see them as government agents, modern advocates suggest they are actually extraterrestrial in nature. This theory transforms them from mere human enforcers into something far more alien and predatory. Some fringe theorists even claim these extraterrestrials have already infiltrated the highest levels of our world governments. They might be working alongside human authorities to keep the truth of the Roswell incident buried. Whether they are ancient spirits or spaceborne beast-eaters, their impact on the human psyche is devastating. From the Condon Committee era to the present, the pattern of intimidation remains remarkably consistent. They mirror the same dread found in stories of the Hatmen or the unsettling black-eyed children. Their mechanical gait and lack of emotion suggest a being that is only masquerading as human. Even the cameras at Niagara Falls could not capture the soul behind those dark, glassy eyes. Every visit ends the same way, with a warning that leaves the witness paralyzed by lingering fear. We are left to wonder if they are protecting us or simply managing a grand deception. The shadow they cast over our history is long, dark, and filled with unanswered questions. Their presence reminds us that some secrets are guarded by forces we cannot possibly hope to defeat. As we peel back the layers of this mystery, The core remains cold and deeply disturbing. The men in black remain the ultimate enigma of the paranormal, standing forever in our periphery. They are the silent observers of our greatest fears, waiting just beyond the reach of the light. So, what should you do if you hear that heavy knock and they come for you? If you saw something tonight, something that shouldn't exist, would you tell the world, knowing they might listen? There is a final warning every researcher knows. Passed down from the darkest corners of you is the fleeting satisfaction of sharing the truth. Really worth the visit that inevitably follows. Remember the sudden phone call that preceded the arrival of the visitor at Dr. Herbert Hopkins' house. Some doors are better left locked, acting as a final barrier between our world and theirs. When the sun dips below the horizon, the silence of your home can become a heavy burden. If you hear a heavy, rhythmic knock echoing through your hallway tonight, remain perfectly still and silent. Behind that thin wooden frame may stand a figure in a dark suit and a derby hat. We have seen how Albert K. Bender was silenced forever by the weight of their terrifying secrets. Whether they are agents from the Roswell incident or ancient entities, their presence remains a chilling reality. From the Niagara Falls CCTV footage to the pale faces of black-eyed children, the patterns never change. They arrive without invitation, demanding entry into the lives of those who have seen too much. Do not be fooled by their human appearance or their sterile, calculated way of speaking to you. Your curiosity might be your undoing if you reach for the handle and turn the lock. Once you invite them across the threshold, your reality will never be the same again. The Condon Committee couldn't explain them, and modern science still turns its back on the shadow. Like the International Flying Saucers Bureau, your own efforts to seek the light may invite the darkness. If the shadows stretch long and a stranger waits outside, choose the safety of the unknown. Let the knocking continue until it fades into the morning air, leaving you alone once more. For now, keep your lights off and your doors bolted against the men in black. Close your eyes and try to sleep well tonight. If you truly believe you can,